Okay, if you're watching this video, it's because you're looking for some help with the assignment practice worksheet 2, solving systems of equations by graphing. Okay, so I'm just going to do one or two of them to help you out and get you started. And hopefully between the bell work video and this video, you will have a good jump on what to do. Okay, so the ones that I think that we will benefit us most are to do number 2 and number 4 together on the video. So let's start with number 2. All right, we have both equations that are in y equals, and we want to start by finding the slope and the y-intercept of the first one. So starting with the first equation, let's find m and let's find b. Okay, if you look at this equation, right, remember the slope is the number that is next to x, so that would be 4. And the y-intercept is the one without the x, that is 3. Now, remember, we need our slope when we're going to graph it. It's got to be a fraction. So if it's not a fraction, we put it over 1. Okay, now we're going to graph this first line. And where do we start always? Do we start with m or do we start with b? So where b is free, we're going to start with b. And that's our first freebie of a dot. So we're going to put that on the y-axis at 3. And then this is a rise and a run here, okay? So this tells me I should go up 4 and right 1. Now, that is clearly not going to fit. So the reason I picked this one is because of this reason right here. If it doesn't fit, I told you in the last video, you could move the negative, right? And make it fit. You can't go up 4 and right 1. There's not enough space. Well, if there is not a negative, you can make them both negative. You're allowed to do that, okay? Only if there's no negative and it doesn't fit. So that means we can instead go down 4 and left 1. And we rarely have to do this, but it's only if it's positive and it does not fit. So we change them both to negative. We're going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4 and left 1. And this is going to be my second dot then. Okay, so take your ruler, put your pencil down, and draw your line. And that one's done. Now, the next one is not quite so complicated, but it is missing a number in front of that x. So you want to notice that there's a hidden 1 in there, and it's actually going to be negative because of the negative sign. So let's do this one, m and b for the second one. So m is the number next to x, and that's going to be negative 1. B is now the one without the x, and that is going to be negative 2 because of that minus sign. Okay, which one of these needs to be a fraction? Is it m or is it b? M is always the fraction, so make that negative 1 over 1. Okay, where do we start? Do we start at m or do we start at b? If you said b, great job. We start at b. We always start there. Start at negative 2, make your dot. That one's free. And then our rise and run, this now is negative, so it says down. And this one's positive, which means it's right. So we're going to go down 1 and right 1. And that one fits, so I didn't have to change anything. Take your ruler, line them up, and draw your line through. And this one is a perfect, nice intersection there. So the final answer is, where do they cross, okay? And you can see they cross at this spot right here. And so our solution, right, if you put your fingers on the dot and you go backwards to the x and y line, it says x is negative 1 and y is negative 1. There's your answer. Great. Okay, so that was one of the more complicated ones because of this reason. Most of them are not going to be that way. Another tricky one that I'm going to do for the sake of the video is 4. And the reason it's tricky is this first one, okay? And I know I taught you this earlier, but I want to go over it again. So I'll start with this y equal negative 1. That looks funny because there's nothing else. It just says y equal negative 1. Well, if that's the case, what we do and what I showed you last week is that we make this the y-axis at negative 1, and we're going to put a dot there. So we're going to use the y-axis, and we're going to find negative 1, and that's going to be our dot. And then we don't want our line, we have no other places to put dots, but we don't want our line to land on the y-axis. We're going to make our line opposite of that axis. So instead of making it go up and down, we want the opposite of that, and we're going to make it, for y, we're going to make that a horizontal line. Okay, and so that is going to be our first line already done. Okay, now the second one is normal again. So let's do this one. It says y equal -5/2 plus 4. So find our slope, find our y-intercept for that second one. So our slope is the one next to x, so that's -5/2. And our y-intercept is +4. This time the slope is already a fraction, so we don't have to change it. That's nice. And where do we start our graph? M or B? Yes, B is free. We're going to start at 4, so put your dot at 4. And then our rise and our run tells us we're going to go down 5 and right 2. Okay, so here we go. Down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, yay. And 1, 2, over. So right there, you can already see before you even draw the line where it's going to intersect and where we need to look for our answer. Okay, so this is our intersection point. Now let's find that as an ordered pair. So start your fingers on the dot, move them out to your x and y axis. So our x number says it's 2, and our y number is -1, and that is going to be our solution to the system. Okay, hopefully that is enough to get you through. If you have any questions, you can email me or see me later. Have a good rest of your day.